Rich, Sutcliffe and passenger. One man, his wife, and a dog called Ralph.
We did that within like the first 9 months of being in business, and nobody was doing it back then.
People love founder-led brands, right?
I mean, there's two sides to that. What is it you want? I don't actually know, but I know it's not that. Passion, commitment, dedication, doing things differently. It teaches you a lot about yourself, it teaches you about resilience, it teaches you about ego. They told us our daughter was not going to make it and probably have to take her home to say goodbye.
How did you deal with that?
It's eaten me. I couldn't do this again. You should always trust and believe in yourself, but yet don't be such a dick that you think you know everything.
Love that. So Rich, good to see you down in the New Forest, mate, in your lovely, lovely pad here. And roaring fire, so thanks for having me.
You're welcome, mate.
So, take me back to 2012. There was, I was reading something the other day about you. It said, one man, his wife, and a dog called Ralph. So,
yeah.
Let's just take you back, 12, 13 years. Just talk me through what 2012 looked like for Rich Sutcliffe back then.
I mean, so I think back then and before the Passengers started, do you know what? You can roll it back even one step further. So, I mean, there's always been an element of lostness and for myself and kind of to find purpose and not really thinking where I fit in. And I was
finding your identity, you mean?
Yeah, and just what was driving my passion. And I was an electrician. My dad was an electrician, still is. My brother is. I was working with those guys, and I went to the Arctic Circle and just did a bit of a trek for about 8 days. Funny, I'm thinking about doing it again, actually.
Never been.
It was epic, and we just found these cabins. But then,
so how old are you at this point?
God, that's a really good question. I reckon about 25. About 25, 28, okay. 25, 28, something like that.
Yeah.
But on that trip is where the feeling of escapism for me was born. I was like, I'm in my happy spot. I'm away from the noise.
Safe space.
Safe space. It's slowing down. I'm in the present. And it clicked for me there that that's what I was looking for, and I didn't really understand what that was meant to be.
Yeah.
So then fast forward a little bit now, we're in 2012, and because of that trip, and that's probably 3 or 4 years after that, it wasn't really resonating for me, life, and I'm a bit lost, and I'm not really sure what my purpose is, my passion. I'm an electrician at this point. And
are you working for somebody, or are you working
I work
for
for myself. I started with my dad and my brother, and they did think I was absolutely crazy because I had no experience, but there was something that I wanted. I just had this calling, this urge, this longing, and so we kind of decided that this is what we wanted to do, and we wanted to build a brand. And so we decided.
You say we, that's you and Alexa?
Me and my wife, yeah.
So, so was your knowledge of brand or product at this point? Obviously, you're an electrician.
None.
Most electricians I know don't probably understand brand that well and product that well.
No idea. I didn't have a clue. I didn't know anything about anything. Now I've been told you don't know what you don't know, but I had no idea about product, brand, marketing, operations. I didn't know anything. I'm just an electrician doing his thing, but for me, it wasn't enough, and I decided that that's the journey I wanted to go on. It wasn't to create a successful business or a brand. It wasn't to create, or there was a gap in the market. I didn't know those things. It was I wanted to do something that's passionate around, maybe find a lifestyle that myself, my wife, we could have Ralph, our dog, we could find this balance of life, travel when we needed to, and we had this bug within us. And that's how Passenger was formed in the early days.
And Alexa's background, because obviously
so she was a graphic designer. So she
had an eye for what things look like, architecture, that kind of stuff.
Yeah, so she didn't understand product or sort of operations, but she knew how to sort of create marketing collateral, and she worked for a large women's fragrance brands. We wouldn't have been able to do it without her. She was brilliant.
So how do you go from having a chat, you're going back off a trip where you sort of almost finding your identity, you've found your happy place. How do you then bring that back, have a chat with Alexa to then even start to think about building, I'm going to call it product range. I guess you're going to start with the product first, right? Even before you start with the range. So just talk me through how that, you go from that trip to actually creating that first t-shirt or first jacket.
So the first step was to decide on the brand name. So we weren't even sure at that point what the products were going to be. It wasn't about products. It
wasn't even about apparel at that point?
No, it was more about just creating a brand that represents what we believed in, and it was about the journey, escapism. It was about, and that's the superpower of Passenger. That's what's been really strong, and we can touch on that in a minute. But it was about, in essence, we created a brand. Then we decided that apparel was an easy fit for us. So we went out and Decide
Is that because of Alexa's graphic design skills?
yeah, she was able to do it, but also apparel just makes sense that you start off some t-shirts, and that's what we did, some t-shirts and beanies.
Capital's not too big, your capital requirement, yeah.
Yeah, again, it was self-funded at that point. It was in the loft, all the product was in the loft of my house. Back then, blanks weren't really readily available. They weren't also sustainable, and me being me, I didn't believe we could call ourselves a brand if we were just buying blanks and printing. It's a different story now. I mean, that's a different conversation, should I do it today? But back then, we went out the hard way. I had to figure out sourcing, how you work with importing, design, manufacturing. So we created a simple, so our logo, we took a logo and put a map in it, and that was around the Pacific Northwest and the regions that are intrinsic to Passenger's DNA. Having family from Canada and going backwards and forwards, Passenger's very much inspired by that area.
So I get the escapism. You know, obviously myself being involved now with Passenger, this, you know, the last 18 months or so, in fact longer than that, more like 20 months. And I see the passion for sort of sustainability and looking after the planet. I wish there was a few more people like you, to be honest. Escapism and sustainability are slightly two different things. But where did the sort of looking after the planet come from? Who was the driver of that? Was that you? Was that Alexa? Was that a sort of a combined sort of philosophy?
I mean, I would probably say that was me. So Alex was very much designing, facilitating it. We were both working full-time jobs at that point, so it was very much we were bootstrapping and do what we can. We didn't
So
have
this is a side hustle at this
Oh
point?
God, yeah, we didn't have a life for 8 years. We worked weekends, evenings. I'd get up at 5 o'clock in the morning and be speaking to China and Asia, and then I'd go to work doing my day job, and then I'd be probably speaking to other regions. So we were always working 24/7. But I think to answer your question back then is, so after about a year, if not less, so we create the first few products.
And how are you selling those? Are you selling them on a website? Are you going out to...
Direct to consumer for our website. So we set up a website. We're all direct to consumer at the beginning. B2B wholesale opportunity came later down the line after about 3 years. But at that point in time, we were very much just selling products. God knows who was buying them. Maybe there's some products, a lot of products in friends and families' lofts. But after...
That's when you need your friends and family, right? To support you on the first few orders, right?
Yeah. And very quickly, it dawned on me that escapism was focused around the outdoors, and around sort of travel, adventure, and all those things. And it doesn't have to be those, because escapism is different to any one person. To one person, it's getting lost in a piece of song, a piece of music. This one's going for a surf, traveling around the world. It's different to everyone, but the natural kind of that just relates to everybody and everything is the environment and the nature and the outdoors. So we were like, well, if we're going to create products that are promoting this area, we can't be taking back for them. So it became very apparent very quickly. So the first thing we did was we said, we'll plant a tree for every order. That was like, we did that within like the first 9 months of being in business.
So we're back to 2012-13 still.
Oh God, yeah, like, and nobody was doing it back then, and everybody still thought I was mad, and we didn't want to be just, hey, we're a responsible business, but it was something we had to do. So we tried to make sure it's not the first thing that we shout about, but it's quite easily identifiable and you could understand.
Part of your value set, right?
Absolutely, yes, so important. And off the back of that, it became important that so waves and trees were a big kind of strap line and a big focus for us in the beginning. Being around the New Forest, and then obviously my affiliation with Canada and the Pacific Northwest, it made sense, and that's what we were doing. So therefore we were trying to protect the environment we play in and also making responsible product.
And did the ideas of responsible product and just the way that you kicked off the brand, was that done? I sort of feel like you can't almost do that from your back bedroom. You can't do it from an office. You've sort of got to be out in the world. And you talk about Pacific Northwest and Canada a lot. Were most of those ideas formed when you were sort of in your beaten up sort of trailer man? When were those sort of best ideas born?
I mean, escapism obviously was born. The idea was born, but it didn't. And again, that kind of kickstarted things off. But when myself and my wife went on our honeymoon, we were in the Pacific Northwest. We were in the camper van, and I can still picture it now. And there's actually some photos around the office, but it really kicked into gear there around what it means, how we're going to do it, what escapism really represents, and the connection to Pacific Northwest. Everything just sort of fell in place there, and that was a big pivotal moment for us as well.
So for most brands, they're talking about this at that point. They're talking about what their brand positioning is. So you sort of
I didn't even know what that meant back then.
Yeah, so that's what I'm saying. You almost like fell into that, like
yeah.
I mean, so organically.
Yeah, it was. I mean, there's no doubt about it. The brand's becoming an extension of my personality. It's bigger than that now. So at the beginning, it was an extension of who I am, how I see things. But the more people you bring on board, the more that you let that fly.
Yeah.
That's something we should definitely touch on later, because that's taught me a lot about myself. But
Yeah, and people love founder-led brands, right? People love founder-led brands, so...
I mean, there's two sides to that. You can be a founder who is prepared to get out of his own way and control his ego and let the brand go to the strengths and where it should go to because the opportunity is there. Or you can be someone who's controlling, it's my way or the highway.
Yeah. I'm going to come back to that,
Yeah,
actually, because obviously the brand and the business has gone through lots of change over the last sort of 13 years. So we'll come back to that point. Can I get a little bit more personal?
Yeah,
so
absolutely, please
just
do.
talk me through the visionary versus the designer. So I guess that, you know, you and Alexa, when you're making decisions, I imagine there must have been a few
it was
times
spicy.
yeah, spicy.
Spicy.
Yeah?
Oh God, yeah.
Who won the arguments?
I want to say her, but I think it was probably me. And the
Would
reason
she tell me the same thing?
I think she would. We should definitely get her over and ask that. And the reason I think she would probably say is she used to say to me, "Stop designing over my shoulder." And you go and look. There's something I still live by, and we talk about this every day. And we say we often don't know what it is we want, but we know what it is we don't want.
Yeah,
so
yeah,
the
yeah.
idea is you can then cross out those things. So that's the sort of philosophy. So she used to get wound up with that. But she said, "What is it you want?" And I go, "I don't actually know. But I know it's not that."
That's a heck of a product brief, by the way. So
Yeah.
I'm sure she got frustrated with you because most founders are visionaries, but then sometimes can't bring that to life
100%.
because it's up here, right?
Yeah, and I didn't know back then how you write briefs and you should be doing briefs. I was doing them, but not knowing. I mean, God, I genuinely don't know how the hell we got. And look back what I know now, and I would say what I know now is like 1/10 of what I need to know in life, if not less.
Yeah.
I didn't know anything back then. I generally don't know how we've got to where we are, but passion, commitment, dedication, doing things differently. It teaches you a lot about yourself. It teaches you about resilience. It teaches you about ego. It teaches you about how to be a good leader, how to be inspirational, when to push,
When not to push.
Absolutely, that's exactly what I was going to say. When to be a friendly ear for people. I mean, it's taught me about emotional intelligence. It's something that up until even months ago, I didn't really quite. I've realised I'm good at it, and I've got great emotional intelligence, but I didn't know it was a real powerful thing. And all of this here is, in the early days, early stages, you look back and you're like, how did I fucking get?
Well, most people with good EQ have got a really good sense of their self-awareness. So, and actually, it's interesting because a lot of the founders, a lot of leadership teams that I come across and meet, sometimes they are, you know, their level of IQ and actually how intelligent they are leaves certainly me for dead. Sometimes their lack of emotional intelligence and self-awareness actually sort of hinders their business and brand. So, you know, fair play to you that you were able to have that relationship with Alexa where, you know, you knew what you didn't want versus sometimes what you always wanted, which is, as I said, which is a great balance.
But she also understood me as well, I reckon.
Yeah. Well, that's why she married you, I hope.
Exactly. But the idea is, if you have somebody that you two work very well together and you complement each other, they know, they're like, you're not being clear. And she tells me that all the time. And I'm quite aware now, having ADHD, that my clarity, and I jump around a lot, my clarity's quite, it's not the best, but I'm aware of it now, so I can do something about it. But the idea is, now I know I got very strong suits in certain areas and I'm weak in others, so I can improve them. But Alex also understood that she knew how to get the best out of me. She knew what she needed me to say, so she could lead me down that. And that's why it was a great partnership.
Yeah, absolutely. And sort of growing up in the early years, 2012, 13, when you kicked off, or 2012, I believe is where you sort of came up with the concept of Passenger. Why the name Passenger, actually? Because I'm always really intrigued as to why people call their brands what they call them.
We were very much around sort of travel, the journey, and sort of all those elements. So it was about why you do it, not what you do. We weren't about, I don't know.
So why you exist almost.
Yes, and that was where that was there. But also, if you want to strip it all back and go, there's depth to this brand. We're all passengers on life's journey, so there is a deeper connotation to it.
Okay, so passenger journey, love it, and people can really resonate with that for sure. And along your own journey, I know very, very, very close to your heart. I'm a dog person, as you know. Talk me through Ralph the Whippet.
We didn't have children and we didn't have our daughter River at that point. So basically, pretty much just before we kicked off Passenger, we had our Whippet. Got from a puppy. And he was diagnosed when he was about sort of 5 that he had a heart condition and he probably had about 18 months to live. So you're trying to run your business at that point, and you're mentally like you're.
And he's your best mate, right?
He's my best mate. He was everywhere. He's in the office. You can ask anyone from the day. He'd be 20. Went with me everywhere. So at that point, we're sort of going around. We're going off in the van when we can on weekends, trying to design and run a business and a brand from on the road, whilst juggling a full-time job. And
So you're still an electrician at this point as well?
still half in, half out at that point. My wife is still full-time.
So the side hustle's become a slightly bigger hustle.
Yeah,
The daytime job's become a slightly less daytime job.
yeah.
You've got a dog that is your best mate, but is...
But it's been given 18 months to live. My wife was going full-time. I think she was part-time at that point. Dog had 18 months to live, and then our daughter River came very early, and at that point in time, so they told us our daughter was not going to make it and probably have to take her home to say goodbye. So we were trying to keep a business afloat.
How did you deal with that?
Truthfully, I mean, there's still damage inside. Like there's definitely like some scars, and both myself and my wife have still got some scars, and it broke us, and we got quite distant at one point, and we divided and conquered.
As in the relationship got distant?
Yeah, because we were both so fucking broken. So at one point I was basically running passengers solely. I'm going between the hospital. I'm taking my dog there at one point because I didn't want to leave him, and how long he had left. And you're basically I used passenger as my escapism. Like, I stuck my head in the passenger and did everything I possibly could. One, to keep it alive. Two, because my wife was dealing with our daughter. So I'm driving back to and from hospital every day. But it was kind of an escape for me, if I'm honest. I maybe took a coward's way out. But it took its toll. And I don't know what the right or wrong answers are. And I wouldn't judge anyone in that position.
But I mean, if there is a positive to come out to that, it's, you know, the level of resilience that you then have coming out of that. And, you know, I saw River earlier today, right? And what a super nice kid.
She's a chip off the old block. She's a mad as a box of frogs.
That's quite scary then, right?
Yeah.
But ultimately builds resilience. And, you know, I talk about perspective with leadership a lot, and a lot of really good operators sometimes don't have that much perspective. So when things go wrong within the business, they sometimes tend to panic. It feels like because you've gone through that personal journey of, and I think most people would have probably, you know, lost a dog or had a sick dog in their lives, but not many parents would have had that situation that you guys had with River. So I think it's not only built your resilience, but I think it's probably given you a decent perspective of actually what's really important to life, right? Because don't get me wrong, building a brand, a global brand like you have done with the rest of the team.
It's eaten me. I would never, I couldn't do this again. Maybe because of the scar tissue and the wounds of everything happening, that it's like there's stuff buried in a box that's never come out. Probably don't have the resilience for that.
Well, most people don't have that in their tank the first time round, never mind the second time
But
round.
the way I
right?
look at it now is I think we're quite lucky. And the reason I think we're quite lucky is we were in hospital for 100 days with River. And a lot of the parents that we made friends with, their children didn't make it.
I bet that's heartbreaking, right?
It's fucking horrible and heartbreaking. So we can sit here and say we're hard done by, blah, 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 and this is the reality that we put ourselves through. But we weren't that hard done by. We could have been a lot worse.
Yeah, well, we do a lot of work back in the Midlands with, you know, Birmingham Children's Hospital, and you go in there on a tour with the guys and you see, you know, these sick children. And as a parent of 2 kids myself, I look at it and go, it's got to be tough on the child, but sometimes the child doesn't know that they're sick, right? But the pain that you see when the parents and the anguish and the pressure that they take on is unbelievable. And I'll never forget the tour that we did, and you're going on on one of the wards, and you meet some of the parents, and you think, like, I don't know what I'd do you have to be super. You either go missing or you become super resilient, right?
Yeah,
Because you have to.
I think at one point, that's a really good way of that go missing. That was close to happening with both of us, and we almost, I think, together we went missing for each other for a period of time because we were both so broken and dealing with our own ways.
Yeah.
But we had a really good conversation and decided we need to come together and for our daughter. So we did. We managed to pull ourselves through and figure out that, like, you come out the other side and
look, she's a great kid, right?
oh god, yeah, she's
You know, like any other kid watching stuff on the mobile phone and all that kind of stuff.
I mean,
you know?
she's still got challenges medically. She'll never be an athlete for her condition, but cognitively, my god, she is. Oh my god, yeah, she's ridiculous. She's almost. We wonder if she's got a photographic memory. She's not a typical child. She definitely suffers with ADHD, like her old man. I think she's also been diagnosed with autism as well. But my God,
So that's, just even one of those conditions is tough to manage as a parent. And obviously you're managing up part of a leadership team in what is one of the fastest growing brands in the UK right now, and actually in your sector, probably one of the fastest growing brands in the world. So how do you balance all of that right this moment in time? I know we're long now further forward than we were back in 2013, 14, 15, but how do you sort of balance that now with looking after River? Obviously Ralph is, God bless his soul, has been and
yeah,
gone.
he's passed by quite some time.
How do you balance that now?
Probably two ways of looking at it. One, we're in a position financially now where we're not struggling to keep the lights on as you imagine any early stage businesses. The hustle was real. I mean, we never want to lose that hustle in Passenger because that's its DNA. So there's that element, so we don't have that worry. But two, my wife does all the heavy lifting. She's my hero. She's my rock. She is super mum.
Yeah, no, I can't imagine actually.
It's like, yeah.
So how does now Alexa, she was there right at the start in terms of helping you build Passenger. In fact, you both did that together. She's now not in Passenger.
I think it's
day-to-day.
harder for her.
Yeah, I was going to say so, because I'm guessing, her passion is still Passenger, right?
So yeah, I would say her passion and purpose are very much River is number one, but that doesn't stop people kind of wanting to be more than just a mum, just a parent. So
Does she now still quiz you on why you're building that product, Rich? Or does she back away from you?
Not as much, but what's in her...
Graphic designers are very, very passionate people, right?
I mean, exactly. And it's luckily that we've got, say, John Lyne, who stepped into Alex's shoes, and he's somebody we should give a mention to because, so kind of when John joined, he had an 8-week period for him to do a handover. And at that point, River was just like, oh shit, it's happening. So he was trying to run 2 jobs because we said we were going to do this 8-week period. He had his notice to work. So he came on, he didn't sign up for what he came on board to do. It's just like, I'm in between hospital. He's got this, he's trying to take over from somebody who didn't really get the handover he needed. But he stepped up and delivered. So he has a special place in my heart. And he needs to mention because he proved to me that human beings, it's like, we wouldn't be here today if he didn't do, and he didn't deserve that, and he didn't sign up for that.
And you know what, brands and businesses, the way they go through various different phases, and people along the way will play a very important part in those phases. Certainly the same when we built the Gymshark business, right? Exactly the same, and it's great that you remember those people because without those people, the foundations would never have been built.
And going back to your question, though, to answer it so I'm not skipping it, Alex does mention stuff. I also want her to come in when we have team meetings so people understand who she is and the respect that she's earned to say, we wouldn't be here today if it wasn't for her. You don't see her every day, but she did all the heavy lifting and she sacrificed herself and her passions for something else.
So you're effectively co-founders, right?
Oh, absolutely. We are co-founders. I'm just the mouthpiece because I'm the one in it all day. I'm just the gobby one. But what I think she doesn't worry too much and doesn't sort of quiz too much is she knows John Lyne, who she handed the reins over to eventually, although it wasn't the right way, means she doesn't have to worry. He's got it.
So now let's fast forward. So you're still in startup phase. Yep. So you've gone from 2013 to sort of effectively launching the first product. Yep. Take me through 2013 to, I don't know, 2017, that next 4 or 5 year phase. So, and maybe talk about how fast the business has grown at this point.
So I don't think it grew sort of at that point in time. It probably, I think by about 2018, we were getting close to that million turnover.
By the way, congratulations. Not many people can start a business and get to a million.
We're getting close to that. And I think, between B2B, sort of wholesale channel and D2C, I think our wholesale at that point in time, so when River was born, the wholesale opportunity was there. So I didn't really have a choice. I had to keep the lights on. That was never the ambition to be a wholesale brand, but we kind of fell into that. We had to keep the lights on for everything that happened. But
yeah, you know what, people, it's interesting you talk about that, right? Because a lot of founders get obsessed with purpose, right? Get obsessed with the consumer group, but ultimately without cash and without profit, and actually in that order,
we weren't profitable back then.
Okay, but you can actually not be profitable, have cash in the bank and still exist. But a lot of founders actually don't get that. So fair play for you for even recognizing that actually if the D2C channel isn't accelerating enough to effectively keep the lights on, you've got to go and, you've got to pivot, you've got to be agile. So
I think there's a few aspects back there. So I didn't know back then about sort of how to leverage a fixed cost base or how to drive certain channels to make them work. What I'd realised though, and it was like an epiphany, and not epiphany, that's a big word, but I'd realised that what we'd created around brand values and about the brand culture and everything Passenger was really resonating. There was serious legs in this, and that was a real big...
What year are we now?
We're about 2017, 2018.
So that's when you first felt that actually the ceiling for Passenger is much bigger than you would have first thought when you started this thing in 2012.
And the amount of interest we were getting, and it was all driven by brand. So brand fed product, and then product we had in our operations. I didn't really know, and it wasn't my passion, wasn't my forte. I'm not going to say I was a business person, but when we're going for it now, and we brought in. So I had Katie on board then, who was product designer. We had Sam Wesley, who was head of marketing, and John Line.
So you started to build like a
Tom,
core foundational team?
Yeah, Tom was there as well, Tom Hatcher, so make sure he'll kill me if he didn't get mentioned in that sort of core team. But yeah, that's the sort of core team, and it was for quite a few years. And but again, it was Passenger, it was its purpose, its values, it was really resonating. So, and because we could see the B2B interest, we realised, and everyone's sort of saying, well, you guys are on something, you're different, you're not about the what, you're about the why. So we could be surf, we could be outdoor, we could be lifestyle. We were sort of crossing and merging the spaces because it was driven by escapism, and we defined what escapism was later down the line. So that kind of set us up, and at that point in time, and I think it was about 2018, we still weren't profitable, but I wanted to create a brand that could attract the right business people to help scale, to leverage it, and everybody says, oh,
and for it to really outlast generations.
Absolutely, right? Yeah, and everybody says, oh, that's some good insight, that's some good emotional intelligence.
So at this point, you've recognised that you need external help and external capital to effectively take you from that 1 million quid base, which is difficult to get to whatever the next level, let's say 1 to 10, you felt like you needed that help. So you didn't take that advice from somebody, you just, a bit of a moment where you go, you know what, to do this properly, we're going to need people who can do this, either who've done it before or who have just basically maybe got a bit more experience than you.
Yeah, I didn't have a clue what I was doing. I was way out of my depth.
Making it up
As I go along, and there's an element of that which is really important, because it means you should always trust and believe in yourself, but yet don't be such a dick that you think you know everything.
Love that.
So there's a right balance between it all, and you can quite quickly...
You need to speak to a lot of founders, because most founders don't get that, by the way. So,
but if you strip back the questions, and this is where you say about emotional intelligence, we talked about this earlier, and you talk about resilience, and you talk about ego.
Yeah.
I'm going to say it's my ego that did this, not because... So on one hand, you have to control your ego. It's really important that...
Well, everybody's got an element of ego, right?
Yeah, exactly. But the way my questions were, I either carry on, and I'm in charge, it's my ball, no one else is playing with it, and it may not live up to the potential that it can do. So on one hand, that's an emotional achievement. I want my ego to say that I founded this and it's gone and delivered, because that's better than failure. So that's the ego on one end. The other thing is just like, financially, I'll put everything in it. I'm up to my eyeballs if it doesn't.
So I needed to make it work, right?
Yeah. So again, it's not about ego here. You could say that maybe it's an emotional intelligence that allows you to see that, but it's still ego driven, but it's controlled in the right way.
So when you went out for that investment, where do you because a lot of fast growing businesses that I meet, especially, founders, CEOs, they're not ever sure where to start on that journey. So when you went out to find an external investor, where did you even start?
God, I didn't have a clue either. So put a pitch deck together.
I'm guessing you didn't have a black book of network, right? So
no, anyone. I put a pitch deck together, and God knows, I don't even know how I managed to build a pitch deck then. I barely know it now, let alone back then. So anyway,
I bet it wasn't as good as the pitch deck that you're building right now, right? So
God, no. But the idea is that you start somewhere and everything gets refined. So you're always iterating, improving what you've originally done. So we put a pitch deck together. Must have been good because it worked. So we went out to a few people. We had a lot of interest, actually.
From who? From the sector or people from outside the sector?
I didn't know anyone in the sector. So it was people outside the sector. But at that point in time, actually, we've skipped over a part. So I actually brought in very small investors.
Angel investors.
Angel investors, yeah, and they were people I met at Boardmasters Festival. They actually were the founders of Boardmasters Festival.
Oh, wow.
Exhibiting there. So I forgot so they were already on board.
And look at that brand right now. It's a phenomenal brand.
Yeah, and so they were lovely guys. But again, that was one of the reasons we knew we were onto something, because they see it all day long.
So they would have understood brand because they were building something similar but in their space, and they had some spare capital to invest.
Yeah, I mean,
into
we're
Passenger.
talking. So if they put in £60,000 EIS at that point, and they just took a punt because they believed in myself and Alexa and what escapism is. So they were already on board at that point. And because we were working with retailers and also Julian from Vision 9, Bournemouth, new founder of Surf Dome, who was Justin Stone. Obviously now Justin's been on board since 2019. So
Yeah, great guy.
lovely guy. But he was aware of us because one, they'd stopped Passenger. So two, I reached out to him and he just sort of exited Surf Dome. He's taken a bit of time out to recoup and sort of recharge his battery. So it was good timing to reach out.
Yep.
He was interested. We had a chat. He came on board and he could see the potential and what Passenger was doing and how successful it could be. And the conversation around that was, look, I don't want to be CEO. I'm obviously tired and a bit beaten up from life and challenges with River, my dog and everything, and trying to keep the lights on. Number two, I'm not good enough. I don't have the experience. I want to learn from somebody. Like, I still have aspirations that maybe one day I'll be a CEO somewhere. Maybe it's a challenge to myself.
You know what though? Can I just pick up on that? And I was at a university doing a chat with students yesterday, and to be a leader, you don't have to be the CEO. So you don't need the badge and the role and the title to be a leader.
Fair point. Yeah,
You can be a leader at any level based on the influence and the impact that you make. And some of that might be just about inspiring people. So, and I always say this.
I think it's a challenge to myself. So it's not a challenge to anyone else, but to myself. So I'm not worried about what people say, what the badge says. I don't actually give a shit about that. All I want to know is everything that I'm learning through life, everything that is just, it's a culmination of everything that's happening. I'm still learning every single day. The way I look at it, every day is a school day. I want to, as a challenge to myself, to know, do you know what? Could I do it at a good level? Do I actually know what I'm talking about? So there's still a bit of a personal challenge within me.
And imagine your journey in the last 3 or 4 years. I mean, I met you for the first time probably a couple of years ago, and like most founders, the back end of the business, the financials, probably your knowledge in that area, like most founders, isn't particularly phenomenal. Now, 2 years later.
Oh my God, it was bad then.
Yeah.
I'd still say it's not great because I choose not.
But it's better than most.
Yeah, but again, it's why I want to be challenged because I want to know. And that's why I do like to understand what's going on, not because I think I can have any influence now. I want to know, I want to learn. I'm hungry. That's my brain. That's how it works. Like I'm like a sponge. But I will always be brand, product, and culture first.
And you know what? Most founders are always, or their real value add is on the front end of the business. What the brand positioning, how you bring it to life, product is king, all of those kind of things, and making sure that all those things fuse together. Founder's impact, by the way, is way much bigger than CEO's impact. You know, I remember me and Ben when we were sort of together with a lot of amazing people building the Gymshark brand. And I remember Dave Parry, the chief people officer back then, he always talked to Ben about just make sure you understand your founder's impact, because the founder's impact when you walk into a room, whether the CEO's there, in fact, when the CEO is even there, that has much bigger impact. So in essence, you haven't maybe in the last couple of years had the CEO title or moved on from the CEO title, but nobody can take the founder title away from you. And actually, the founder has way greater impact than the CEO in the business, as long as they're not disruptive in a negative way, right?
And do you know what? I never see. So when I say aspiration to be a founder, it is not title. It is purely to know, can I be an operator? That's really what it comes down to. And when I look at myself as a founder, and you just said that when you walk in, I don't ever see that and feel that, because I'm a lucky guy who.
You always need a bit of luck, by the way.
Absolutely. We've had a lot of luck. We've rode our luck.
And that starts with family, right? In terms of Justin and the guys coming board to sort of now accelerate or certainly look to take it passenger to the next level. What did they do differently? What did that team do? Or what did you learn from that team versus what you maybe hadn't come across in the first 6 or 7 years of building the brand?
I mean,
And did you find that tough? Because you said you had to let go of some shit, right, in the business. So
yeah,
how
yes
did you
and yes and no.
how did you make that work?
So there were some things that were tough. There were some things that I think we didn't do right. But God, did I learn a lot, and I'm still learning a lot. So what I learned, we haven't got enough time to tell you that. That's the reality of it.
I love that.
But I think key takeaways would be focus, what's important in business. So like how you can't do everything, and it's sort of teaching you how to operate a business. So there was so much. I mean, some of the challenges might have been that because passenger was different and it was coming, it's a new breed, it's a disruptor, because we're kind of on one hand saying we're not a true outdoor brand or we're not the same as what anyone else has done. We were trying to pigeonhole what everyone else had done, and we found that challenging. But for me, I knew it in my DNA and was sort of saying, we don't need to do this, we can't. We've tried this, it doesn't work, we do it differently to what everyone else has done. But how do you tell people that? You can't. You need to experience that and understand it, because again, that's part of coming on the journey of understanding who passenger is and why it's different. So that stuff can't be taught or said, it needs to be experienced, and then it makes a lot of sense. But God, the stuff that we've learned, just how to operate a business. Do you know what the biggest thing would be? Yeah, trading, building an operating model, understanding.
Making sure the maths work, right?
Absolutely, yeah.
Because brand is and product is, something that you can do in your sleep. As you said, that other part, really difficult skill set to learn, but once you've learned it once, it's actually not rocket science. A lot of people are a little bit of, I can't be a good operator because I'm good at the front end of the business and the creative side. Actually, I think it's much harder for a sort of a training operator to understand brand rather than the other way around, personally, based on my
there's a lot of people who have said
this.
A lot of people tell me the same, actually, because some things can't be quantified. They're just a feeling. They're just.
Well, it's a bit like a product designer versus a product developer. The skill set that you need for and just the way that you look at the world as a designer is really different to the way that a product developer thinks. The developer's got to bring almost that creativity and thought to life. But the skill set, so they both work in product, but the skill set is so different. They're sort of poles apart, but you need the fusion of both.
Yin and yang, balance.
For it to make it work, exactly. So you brought the guys in. You're now 9-10 years into sort of passenger's life.
Yeah.
Would you have done anything differently at this point? Not where we are now, but at this point. So we're talking 2020. Yeah. Anything you're doing differently at this point, or actually is it, people say to me, I don't have resentment in terms of the business changing, because ultimately the business, what you do when you're in your first 5 million quid is very, very different to what you have to do when you get to 25 million quid and beyond. So anything you do differently?
I mean, there are things I think I could have done better back then. Now I know what I know, and it was very slow out of the blocks because I didn't understand sort of how we could have drove our wholesale business so much faster.
Because the lack of almost operational knowledge, right?
Yeah, and also maybe bringing the right people on board, because now my connections are deeper. But when I couldn't get an agent for love nor money. Now, like, for instance,
Time of day, right?
I got people sort of saying, oh, God, I passed it up on the first thing, but nobody would touch me. There was... So,
well, generally nobody wants, especially in the product world, nobody really wants to take a risk on effectively a startup.
Absolutely.
When you get to 10 million quid and above, now suddenly you're in a space where you're not a startup, you're established, people are starting to talk about your brand, so it's actually much easier, isn't it?
And because I would know those people now, like I could get them to come on board, they would they'd understand and they believe in us. But would I change it? I don't think I would. Now I know, now in what I know, things could be different, but I wouldn't change it because it's led to where we are today, and it's taught me a lot. We've brought a hell of a team together. I mean, we're doing things that we shouldn't be doing. We're disrupting. We're still growing. We're still learning. We're still hustling. So no, I don't think I would change it, because I believe that it's shaped the way it has done for those reasons, and it's in a fantastic position. It's primed. God knows how far this could go.
Oh, listen, the ceiling for for passenger is, it's not limitless because everything has a ceiling, but I think you've got there's a long, great journey you're going to go on. I think, you look at passenger, and I've known the brand now probably for 3 or 4 years. Got involved a couple of years ago.
Where did you first come across the brand?
Justin reached out to me.
Yep. Okay. Yep.
Justin Stone reached out to me and said, listen, literally he used the words, we're on a bit of a journey. You've obviously been on a little bit of a journey yourself with what you did in the big corporate world with the Reeboks of this world, but also probably more interestingly, the internationalization of Gymshark and in particular the American market, where obviously Gymshark did so well as we sort of built that business. So clearly there was a connection over probably passenger. When Justin reached out to me, I'm not saying it's become a household name in the UK, but probably not far off. The amount of people who come to me now and who actually go, you know what, you're involved in Gymshark, and I go, yeah, but you're also involved in passenger now, which is great for anybody to hear that's associated with the brand, right? Because I think the brand is really now starting to gain huge traction in the UK because of you being true to your roots in terms of the brand and its audience. But I think the thing that really excites me about this brand is not only what it can do in the domestic market. I think, I'm a big believer you've got to own your own backyard.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I
Okay.
think the
Yeah. Yeah.
opportunity this brand has in key markets like the US, especially where this first dream started on the west coast of America.
Yeah.
But also, where this brand could go in some, great outdoor segments within Europe as well. And I think, given where the world is with the geopolitical situation, I think actually you've probably got to diverse a little bit in terms of geography. I think the challenge that passenger have got now, you guys as a leadership team, and I sort of play a little bit of part of that sitting on the board, is actually staying disciplined, because I think the danger is we could all say yes to all of those opportunities, but to do and really execute all of those opportunities well, all in one go, I think it's much tougher. So,
I mean, that's the hardest thing that I would learn where we are today is, and you talk about what my learnings, the one thing we have to keep reminding ourselves is, the hard thing is to say no in business. There's fucking opportunities coming left, right and centre, 20 a day. If you say you can't do them all, you just...
And you know what? Your brand, and again, I was chatting to a group yesterday about this, if you say yes to all of it, then you actually in time, very, very quickly, you lose your authenticity. And what I mean by that is, people then lose the idea of what the brand stands for in the first place. If you think about all the best brands, I think, on the globe or in the globe, they're the ones who have stayed true to their roots. Their authenticity is like no other. And that's why people keep on going back to those brands. The Apples of this world, the Nikes of this world, the reason why those brands stick is that they've probably never, ever, ever diverted from the reason they started the brand in the first place, and I get the sense from you in particular as a founder, that's not going to go away very quickly anytime soon, which is great.
You've got to be true to your roots, and we're doing something amazing. We're disrupting, we're making noise, so we just need to continue doing what we're doing.
And I hate to wish your life away, certainly hate to wish my life away, but 5 years from now, with 2030, I'm having another beer with Rich in his back garden. Where's Passenger in 2030? So just give me a little bit of a glimpse of Passenger in the future. And then the second question, give me a little bit of a glimpse of what Rich Sutcliffe looks like in 2030 on a personal level.
Honest truth?
Yeah.
As long as the brand still wants me and I'm still adding value, I'll be doing exactly the same as I am today.
Love that.
Trying to help, to lead, inspire. So I'll be doing exactly what I'm doing today, as long as they'll have me and I'm still needed.
So what you're saying is keeping the brand and the team who are involved in the brand true to the purpose of what you and Alexa set out in 2012.
100%. As long as that's what's required, I'll still be doing it. And I hope in 2030 we've now diversified into different regions. The US is doing really well, and I get to live a bit of that lifestyle in the different regions. One of the most fantastic things that I get to enjoy is sort of traveling to the US, meeting all the people, sharing the story, and meeting other businesses and other like-minded people. And I mean, I've been helping mentor some people that I just quite enjoy their company, and so the idea is it's a few phone calls. I just love it. It's like I feel very privileged to have learnt this. I should share it. Like, it shouldn't stop with me. It needs to
And I
go.
bet that feels amazing, right? Because probably back in 2013, you're thinking, shit, I'm making this up. Now you've got people asking you, Rich, how have you done what you've done? And that must be, I mean, that's a huge
I
compliment,
still,
right?
yeah, absolutely. I mean, I feel like a fraud. I have massive imposter syndrome. I'm not even going to lie. Like, sit on the board, and we've got yourself, we've got Justin, John.
But you know what? Vulnerability is a superpower, right?
Absolutely, but that doesn't, and I agree, and I embrace it. But that doesn't stop me thinking that, like, how the fuck am I here? What do I know? And like, how should I? Why am I in this position?
Yeah.
So therefore, I do embrace it because I think it keeps you human and humble. But it's like, I still feel like, yeah, a massive fraud. But hey,
Well, you've done a very good job of being a massive fraud. That's all I can tell you.
It's exactly.
And personally, 2030. So, you know, you're 5 years older. What does your personal life look like in 5
Bit
years?
more balance, and it's getting there now. Like, it's nowhere near as unbalanced as it once was. But yeah, I'd like to think I've got a bit more time. I'm even finding myself back into my music studio, which I sort of showed you earlier. So I'm sort of,
Amazing setup, by the way.
it's lovely, and I get to sort of be creative again, because Passenger started out creatively. That's what it was. It was creative. It was an outlet. So therefore, I might not have that creative outlet that I once had then, because it's become bigger than just one person. It's about all of us now. This isn't a one-person brand. If you were to take me out of the business, the idea is, if I've been able to pass that knowledge on, and you take me out of the business, it still carries on. That's a win.
You know what? If I could bottle that statement and share that with every single founder I come across, because most founders see it as the opposite. They say, if I come out the organisation, the brand of the organisation is never going to be what it was in the first place.
Yeah.
And actually, the real measure of a leadership team, and I include the founder in that leadership team, is that when you step away from the organisation, well, let's say you just go on a 6 month sabbatical because you love to roam.
Yeah.
When you come back, the actual organisation is in a much stronger spot than the one you left it, right? That's the true measure of success.
Yeah, absolutely. And
So fair play to you, mate.
So there is that's the one element. But somebody, when I was chatting to someone in the staff, sort of saying that they do this because of the hardship that I've put into it, and they want to sort of do what's right. For me personally, I'm like, guys, no, this isn't right now.
Yeah.
I'm like, what you're not realizing is Passenger now, and the reason it's successful is, and if you look at the team, is that there's a bit of all of them in Passenger. So it's not me anymore. It was me once upon a time. It was me. Now, if you sort of slice and dice Passenger, it's got a bit of everyone's soul in it, and that's why it is the way it is, and that's what's really important.
And that's why so many people, you know, the team now is 100 people strong.
Yeah, just over.
Based in 3 or 4 geos across the world, which is great. So you've got, you know, huge element of diversity, huge sustainability credentials, and I think that's going to get even stronger as you go. You know, you should be proud in terms of what you've built.
I am hugely proud, immensely proud.
And when you say balance, obviously your Roma heart, escapism. You know, where's the few places on earth that you still haven't got to that you'd like to visit?
Oh, this is
apart from Newcastle upon Tyne, by the way, because everybody wants to visit.
I've been to Newcastle.
You haven't?
Yeah, I have. It's off my bucket list.
Oh, you have been there.
I went to Sunderland. So when I'm in,
that's not the same.
I went to the good end.
That's harsh, that is. Me and you're going to fall out. As my mother said, there's 2 kinds of people in this world, Rich. There's those who are Geordies and those who wish they were. So believe that, you believe anything. But no, seriously, where's the few places that you haven't been that you'd love to go?
There's not enough time in the world to tell you that. Like,
give me top 3. Just give me gut feel. Come on. I'm going to ask you a favourite joke in a minute as well, by the way.
So where would
We're going to get really deep and personal.
So South America, somewhere around that. I just want to go. I'm going
to come back to South America.
Churchill in Canada, because I just want to go, and I love polar bears. So if I'm ever going to go and I have to die, and I want it to be trying to hug a polar bear, that's the way I've got to go, because I just want to meet a polar bear.
Yeah.
Oh, somewhere like really remote, somewhere like, I don't know, one of the islands of Greenland or something.
So we're talking about where there's like, it's almost no people, just you, maybe even just you, right?
Just me,
just you, or you and Ralph V2 maybe. When, as I said, maybe you can't have a Ralph V2. No, my favourite place to visit that I've not been is Argentina, and I thought Argentina was really warm all the year round. And my friend just come back from Argentina, and he said it was quite cold. I said, really? He said, yeah, it's bordering on Chile. No, That's a terrible joke, isn't it? Terrible joke.
Turn
So,
the camera
anyway,
off.
so
Time to
yeah,
go home.
so yeah.
Taxi.
So anyway, on that note, give us your favourite joke.
Oh, what's brown and sticky?
Oh, jeez, what's this? Go on then.
A stick.
Oh my goodness, mate. Well, actually, you talked about polar bears earlier.
Yeah.
So a polar bear walks into a bar and says to the barman, "Could I get a pint of? Could I get a pint of? Could I get a pint of? Could I get a pint of Guinness?" And the barman says, "Yeah, no problem. But what's with the big paws?"
Oh my god.
Come on, Rich.
It's a shocker.
But no, congratulations on what you've built. I can't wait to, and almost I'm part of it, but I'm sort of on the business, not in the business. So it's wonderful and very privileged for me to look externally and from the outside. You, the rest of the guys, Justin, the Johns, and the rest of the leadership team, I can't name them all. But in fact, the entire organisation going to build this into the best version of itself. I can't wait. Again, I don't want to wish our lives away, but I can't wait to see Passenger's journey over the next sort of 4 or 5 years, and really what you guys can accomplish, not just from a growth perspective, because growth by itself is actually a bit soulless. Growth with a bit of purpose, I think, is going to be. I think you guys are on a phenomenal journey, and again, you know, congratulations on what you and Alexa have built.
It's funny. Do you know what the challenge to that is? So myself and Alex didn't build this. We built this as a collective team, and that's really important. I acknowledge that, and it's a really important part of who I am and what I believe in. Is a founder has a vision.
Yeah.
I didn't build it. We built it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
I love that, man.
there's everyone should take the credit for that.
You know, you've gone from you and Alexa, 2 of you. There's now 100 people. And with 100 people, I'm a big believer that your brand needs to fly in formation. And the way that you do that is by building a phenomenal senior leadership team. And not just in terms of performance, but also in terms of sort of value set and behaviour. Just describe leadership in a few words for me, what your view of leadership is and what does that look like?
Oh, so for me, leadership isn't about your way or the highway. It's not about you telling people how it should be done. Is they need to come on the journey with you. My role as leadership now is slightly different to probably what I thought it would be. I used to think, so I'm in charge, so I say how it goes.
Yep.
But I don't believe that's the way it should be done.
Yeah.
Not when you bring in people that know better than you. So the job is to create that space, and you talk about vulnerability and trust. And so the idea is to create that, and you banter, we talked about this earlier, you like sort of banter to sort of humanize it and kind of get people all together in the right...
Drive accessibility, right?
Absolutely. So that's for me really important, is accessibility. But I believe rather than telling people how it should be done, you try and show them the way to make the decisions. And often you don't make the right decisions. We want to try and avoid the wrong decisions, but it's not a failure to try and not succeed. It's a failure to not try. So the idea is to create that space for leadership to be able to excel. You're not going to get it always right. And the idea is, but once you get into sync and you have that, the idea is then when people feel trust, they feel that space, that openness, they can ask the questions before, and then you can try and mitigate some of the risk. And that's where it's all about. Leadership is about creating a harmony between a leadership team or a team, or however you want it to be done, for you to all be the best versions of yourself, like you say, so that together you can answer the questions, but you're trying to bring it all together. So I think that's what it's all about. Is leadership is about you're taking people on the journey. You're leading by example. You're not telling people how it should be done. You're a facilitator, a communicator, an enabler. It's not about you. It's about them. And it's about collectively all together. And I think that's the way it should be done. And I don't have the short-term answer for that, because there's a lot of emotional intelligence that goes into that and about.
Well, most leaders have egos, right? And as I said, we've all got a little bit of an ego. I think when you've got almost zero ego, you've got then this ability to be accessible,
Yep.
be super vulnerable,
Yep.
and accessibility and vulnerability sort of fused then drives transparency. And when you drive transparency, you drive trust. And when you've got a trusted business, you've then got something really special. That's sort of my view of leadership. So,
Who would you describe as an inspirational figure for leadership for you?
that's a great question. That's a really good question. I tell you who. Let me tell you who it's not, and I'm not going to mention this person's name, but there was a guy who I used to, who was my line manager at Reebok, who was the best commercial.
What was your role back then?
I was sort of commercial director for Europe. It's a pretty senior role. And the guy I sort of reported into, my goodness me, what I learned from him operationally, how to run a P&L, how to build a great business model, like superman in terms of how he did that, like just super talented. But boy, I worked out also from him how not to build an environment. He built it on fear. So if you were not an A player, like he just discarded you. And when I saw so many great humans who could have been a really good version of themselves, he just literally cast them aside because they weren't an A player on day one. So when I got the opportunity to lead an organization, I was like, of course you need to build the right operating model, but we're not going to build the environment like that. So I don't think there's a leader that I've worked with in any organization where I go, oh my goodness me, they're the perfect version, because I don't think the perfect version exists. If I was
Perfection
looking
doesn't
at
exist.
somebody who would be like a global name, in fact, it came in a podcast I did a few weeks ago. I look at someone like Nelson Mandela, who was held in captivity for however many years he was in Robben Island, and yet his mindset when he came off that island to then lead that country. I mean, I would have been so angry as a person. So for him to do that and take that in his stride and then go on to lead that organization to sort of fuse together was like, for me, that's probably the most public version of perfection you'll ever see in terms of leadership.
So do you think, like, looking at that and using Nelson Mandela as a reference, it's because he realised it wasn't about him, it was about other people? That's how he was able to become the best version of himself, become the leader. That's why he wasn't angry, because he sacrificed his view, himself, to be the leader that they need to be.
Always comes down to the right value set, right? Always comes down to the right value set. Last two questions. Describe passenger. This is going to be tough for you, right? In fact, tough for both of us, because we love to talk and we're very passionate about what we do. Describe passenger in one word.
Inspirational.
Second question.
That was an easy one.
Most people would struggle with one word, but you've nailed it. This one's harder. Describe Rich Sutcliffe in one word.
Dickhead.
I'm going to say chaos. In fact, I'm going to break my rule. I think it's two words: magical chaos. Cheers, pal.